This is going to be a lesson on how to do specialty cording. This is specifically blunt-ended cording, where you want to have an end that isn't frayed, where you've tied it off and glued it up. So what we do, this specifically, this time is going to be for a scissor case. Okay, and usually what I do is I would take the tiny pair of scissors, and I would feed it through the actual scissors. But this person would like to be able to change the scissors out in case, you break a tip on a scissor or something like that. You want to be able to replace them, or they get old or they just break. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a clamshell hook, fitting, whatever you want to call it. All right. And I am, for safety purposes, going to start at the beginning. First thing we have to do is unwind our fiber. And typically what I do for ornament sizes is I would take this, I would open it up, and I would just cut it. But this will not give us a long enough piece of cording. The traditional scissor case, if you do a 3 foot long, which ultimately ends up being 6 feet long when you unfurl it, you'll understand what I mean in a minute. It's in the long cording video. Then when you divide it back, it will go all the way around the casing, the scissor case, and leave you the perfect length end for you to have where it goes back into the scissor case. Okay, so I have to cut this knot off, put it on my pearl cotton piece of foam core that I have so that I don't make myself crazy with this, just trying to unwind this. Well, I can make myself crazy doing it with this thing too if it doesn't want to come out. That end doesn't want to unfurl nicely, so we'll switch to this end. Okay, that one looks like it needs to go. So let me get a couple rounds off here. I think I missed. Somebody is crisscrossed over here. Yep. I did not get that perfectly. Somebody didn't make it the right way. Oh, and it's the other end. Must have still been wrapped around. Let's give this a shot. All right. And yes, you see I do have a little bend in it. I try to hold it there so it doesn't bend while I'm doing this. Okay, and put our little tail there. This is my little fly fishing vise, and I like it because the screw, I can wind it around and then I can pull it towards and it lets the tension off. Not that there should be any tension, but sometimes you just can't help it. I gotta see which way this is unwinding off. There we go. All right, so I'm using two different kinds. This is embroidered floss and this is pearl cotton. Embroidered floss is a little thicker, so I'm going to do a couple extra of the pearl cotton so that we can try to get them as even cording as possible. I don't want this light green to be really thick. A really thick one, and then the other two colors are really skinny once they're twisted. So Let's see. I want to have 10, so 20. So we'll do 8 strands of this. Typically I do a 21 count strand of cording, cumulative for all the colors. What are we at? Heaven forbid I keep track as I go. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Oh, just hit the camera. I think that's right. Okay, so I want to take this, and this is the end I'm going to cut. Okay, because we have all of our little endings here. Pull this towards me. Off, still keeping it on this one down here. Cut. All right. Forward towards more so I can hang that color off the edge. All right. Just gonna set this to the, and I'm going to the pearl cotton is much smaller. Obviously, I don't need a large piece of foam core to do this. Right. Push that back again. Oop. I like to have at least one clamp on my board, so come on, fingers. I think we only need 6 of these because they're awfully thick. Knew it was good. Okay, so I'm only gonna do 5. Oh goodness. Okay. Cut that there. Now. Actually, I don't even think that's 5. We shall make it work. Nope, it's only 4. I probably won't get it right on the money, but I already see that one's going to be wrong. This one's the push this back. Didn't mean to take it off. Okay. Basically, we get to just totally unfurl it. Now that we've done 1. Okay. Now, I'm going to twirl this and twist it. It's not much. So this is probably going to be a lot thinner cording than I expected it to be, but that's okay. It'll still look pretty. And it's a little different. It's not like I have a huge gutter to fill on an ornament to do this. But this is something that you could use on an ornament if you wanted to. As far as if you wanted to have something, you needed a piece of cording that had a dangle off of it where you put a charm on the end of it or something like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do 5. We're going to twist it, and then we're going to take this and we're going to twist it again. Yeah, that looks pretty close. No, I'm going to do 6. Am I? I have a feeling this is going to end up being puffier when it goes back. So I'm going to do 6. If I hate it, I'll just undo it and redo it, retwist it. I mean, it's not like we can't to get it right the way we like it. Sometimes when you do things for yourself, you can look at it and go, yeah, that's totally not what I like, and you can just redo it right there on the spot. You don't have to worry about somebody else. Now, I'm going to let you know that I've never done this before with this ever. I've literally done this around scissors always. So feeding it through the tiny hole is going to probably make me a little nuts. And I'm probably going to have to utilize my dowel needle for the majority of it. Actually, let's give this a shot for the initial ones. Well, I would utilize that if I had actually turned my glue gun on. Brilliant. Oh, brilliant. I'm going to put this through the eye of my dowel needle. I'm not sure that I'll be able to drag all of this through it. No, it's not big enough. Okay. Might want to fast forward through this part. You know what? I gotta turn my glue gun on. I'll be right back. Okay, the glue gun has been turned on, but I also thought of another way to do this. Now, if I had a needle threader, a metal one here, I would use that, but I don't. So I am just going to, put my second pair of cheaters on, which I'm always doing. So yeah, my progressives, I need a little extra help. Okay, so see, it's on the fishing line. Take the loop end, you put all of those fibers through the loop, then you draw all of it through. Okay, and now we put it back through. And it really doesn't matter. I just started thinking about it. Gee, does it matter which way I draw this through? No, it doesn't. Silly Kelly. Just need to try to get all of this through. Now, if this becomes impossible for us to pull all of these colors through, which potentially it might, we're going to use a jump ring that is nice and big. I just really wanted to try to avoid a jump ring because sometimes they can pull, and open up and be a royal pain in the tuchus. So let's see if we can make this happen. Oh yeah, look at that. We got it done. All right. So now that all the different colors are on clamshell, okay, not that you can see that, there, there, okay. I'm going to take this, and because it is fitting and it's metal and I don't want to scar it, I'm going to cover it in tape, okay? And I'm also going to use the bottom, I'm not going to use this to pinch, to clamp down on it, because these have a sharper edge to it. It's fine for my fibers, but anything metal like this, and this is exactly how I used to take, and I would put those little lovely scissors, and I'd put them right underneath here in the little sheath, that leather sheath that they come in. I'd put them right underneath here and clamp it down using the base vise on it with tape, but also with tape on it. Okay. Let's put it right on that edge and tighten it down. See if it'll stay up there. But I want to try to not scar that metal. I also don't want this to pull out. Okay, because I'm a puller. I pull pretty strongly on this. Now I gotta weed out all of these fibers. So so as I pull them all through, they don't get all funky and knotted, and so I'm gonna try to move my camera a little. Not always easy. Hello. Let's try turning you a little without getting blasted by the brightness. Auto brightness. Okay. So we're going to take this, and I'm going to separate out the bright red and the spring green, and I'm going to hold them tightly. Okay. And so it's 8 and 8, and this is 12. So now, okay, these all match up pretty closely at the end. Okay, so here's your one set. Now I'm going to get all of these laid out, and then I am going to give it the twist test again and see if this lighter green has too many strands in it. Okay, so that looks pretty even. I'm gonna smooth. You gotta be careful of the embroidery floss because of its very small strands will start to they'll start to pull and be a little hairy, fine mess. I'm pulling against. I think the red is caught in the green. All right, let's get this. Yeah, pulled on it and it was caught. Let's get this really separated because I do not want something that looks really funky, right? One thing if it gets funky at this end, because we can smooth it out, it's a totally different thing if it's funky at the end where I can't cut it off or manipulate it with my fingers. All right, so here is our twist. Really tight for that. Taking a look at it. Twisting this. Oh, no, I think we might. So what I do is I take it like this and I twist it really tightly. Okay? So that I can see the diameter. And then I look at this twisted very tightly and I try to compare the two. And they look pretty close. Now, will they look close after I do it? I don't know, because both these different types of fiber are going to compress completely differently. All right. So, typical, we put out 4 pieces of tape, 1 for each end, and 1 for once they're all together. Okay. All right. Get my little thing, and I need tacks right here. All right, if you want to fast forward through this part, wouldn't blame you in the least. Just smoothing all of that down before I tape really. So I let my winder do the workhorse part. These winders are great for 6 and under. And it even says so on the instructions, but because I do such thick ones, I tend to not be able to do all of them on here. Or if you're doing multiple types, different types of fiber, you end up not being able to use this because they compress at different rates, and then you'll have really loose cording for one. You'll have really loose ones for that needed to be compressed more because they can't compress at the same rate. They're just not the same fiber type of fiber. So this is compressing pretty much at the same rate. This light green is going to be thicker, but I don't think it'll, yeah, it's going to be thicker. But I'm not going to make the choice to, make that take way too long. I'm not going to really mashing down that mask. Now I want to make sure too, as I'm doing this, that these ends where they meet are able to compress. Oop, almost fucked that up. I'm doing this so that it doesn't catch on the fibers that are here. I'm putting it at an angle away from. Okay. So here's our 3 colors. And this also is a great learning one for tricolors because there's a few tricks you need to know. I'm kind of trying to stack them in a way that they look like they're going to twist. So they look like a triangle. If you lay them out like this, straight up, flat like this, when they start to twist back on themselves, when we start twisting to the right, what happens is they can kind of, because they aren't laid out, they're laid out flat like this, they'll kind of get mixed up, and halfway down you'll see like a bump, and all of a sudden the pattern will change. Doesn't always work perfectly, but that's what I try to do to keep it from, so very controlled, turning to the back to the left. Yeah, and you can see that green is going to be, the light green is going to be bigger, but I don't think it's so much bigger that I hate it. Twisting, twisting, twisting. Okay, and I'm gonna come right up here and I'm gonna twist where they all meet together. Give it a pull on my fingers and really make that cord twist. It looks like we did pretty good. I don't see any jump marks. But if for some reason you did see a jump mark, okay, let's untwist this. Why is it I'm an adult and I still do righty-tighty, lefty-loosey? Really? Okay. So I'm going to pull this and see how this looks. Looks pretty good. I don't think there's any way we can avoid a little bit. Come on, focus. Doesn't like to do it when I want it to do it. So I don't think there's a way we can really avoid having a little bit of bulge up there. But it doesn't look like it's going to like fall apart or that it's twisted poorly, so it's going to lose as you use it. Okay. So now we're gonna take that off. Okay, look at that. Pretty great. I think that did pretty well. Maybe I'm too close. Of course, I have my extra glasses on, so I couldn't even see. I was making it blurry in my own face. So here's a way to correct for the bump. If your colors go out of sequence along the line, okay, you kind of twist it and you push it back in. Oh, got fluff in this. to line, and you'll have to do it all the way down the end of the cording to push it. If it's way at this end where it gets off kilter, because you have this here. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have to do that. This, you could push the wrong color back this way. Wherever it is, choose the shortest different distance to have to manipulate it. Okay. So the next specialty blunt end cording is going to be very similar, but without, we are going to attempt to, again, move up much closer. And I'm going to try to, again, get rid of the sunny spot. Okay, I gotta, so on my vise, I'm going to lower it as close as I can to the table. And you're going to see why in a second. I'm just not going to be able to get away. With turning it that way. So, there's things out there called crib toys. They look like little silos, and they have very short pieces of cording that come down the seams. I think they look better with them finished that way. All right, so I'm just sacrificing fiber here, so my apologies. It's just they're extra colors that I have. This is how after I cut them in half to do standard cording the 3-foot way, I just put the color tag back on them, and I fold them in half like this. Then I do the slip knot here, so I can just pull them back out. And if I need to get them flat because they get a little they've been knotted too long, I can just use an iron on it. So I'm going to show you how to do double color and maybe a triple color. They're not as easy, but to do a single color, so I'm just going to chop this. Okay, because I typically would measure it out, but for this purposes, I usually do them, and I try to make them as close as possible because I don't want to waste a bunch of fiber. Because you never know what color you're going to use the next time. So for a single color twist down, tiny twist, I am going to take my vise, and the reason I need it so short to the table is because of how I need it to hold to hold my needle like this. So I guess, I could just put a tack in the table, but this is just always how I've done it. So yeah, you could put a tack in the table and do it that way if you wanted. I got it a little too close there. There. Okay. So I have my needle, and for a single color, I'm going to decide how thick I want it. Usually for these tiny ones, you don't need to do, say, more than 4. So for a single color, that would be 4 and 4. But let's do 5 so you can see it a little bit better. Because now for this time, I am going to use this because it's just easier. I don't have to, because what's going to happen is I'm going to twist this. Now you got to watch it when you're using these, because if you start twisting it tight and you don't go with moving this forward a little, these will twist themselves right out of this because the fiber is going to compress. And I'll show you that maybe. So kind of pull this so that this twists as well. You don't want this to stay flat. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm getting a lot of curl on this side up here, which you can't see. It's starting to double over on itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and make it spin back. And again, I do it as tightly as possible without making it pull out, and then boop, right off the end. There you go. Blunt end. Okay. Now, the next one is a little trickier. Of course, this is like the perfect way, but somebody's like, but I want 2 colors. I want 3 colors. I don't want just one. Okay, fine. So now, because you're going to be doubling it over on itself, and you'll see what I mean in a minute, I'm only using 3 strands, which means it will make a 6-strand twist. And that might be a little too thick. You might only want to do 2. Okay, so we have 3 and 3, right? So you put this loosely here, okay? And you put this down through, again, around the needle. They are both around that needle, right? Okay, but this time, I need tape. So let's get this smoothed out. Okay. Now, you're not going to be able to do the rounded twist up here. It will have a little bit of flatness to it. Okay. Let's try putting this bottle here so maybe we can keep it from trying to focus way in the background. Okay. Now, same thing. Right? I'm going to be twisting these opposite from each other. Okay, so this one is going to be over here, and I'm kind of pulling this down so it stays out of its way. I do not use the cording machine to do this. It takes 2 seconds. I mean, it's already twisting hard. Okay, so I'm going to tack it right there. Tack it into my board. I tell you, my blocking board gets more uses out of it. It's more of like a work board. Okay, I want to tack that over there so that I can pull this a little bit better. Okay, so this compresses down. Okay, got a little bit of bumpage going on there, right? So we're done with that. I'm going to bring them together. Here. Back over here. I do not need this ginormous piece of tape. Okay. Just panicked and, oops, wrong way. looked at the camera like, oh, did I not hit record again? Start twisting it back to the left. Okay. Now, we did do the intermingling of the fibers, right? So it shouldn't come apart. But it doesn't always there. It doesn't always pull out very pretty. So be very careful and deliberate. A lot of times I will take a pin and go like this to the top and slide it up on, and you'll see this in a minute because I'm going to do a tricolor for you, so that it goes right on and I can just sew it and I stab it over to the side to keep that hole preserved. The 3-color ones are the one I would do that on the most, okay, because I want to make sure that this twist stays really nice looking at the end. But, I think that's pretty nice. And when you sew it on, you're going to bring it up and pull it on. But, I mean, that won't come apart because it's interlocked. You can tell right there. Okay? All right. So, what have I got here? I'll do 2. Now, for the triple colors, I definitely keep them to usually 2 each. I'll do 3 each for you just so you can see it more easily. Okay. Get some more tape pulled out here. And so here's 3, 2, 3. Three. Okay, perfect. Okay. So take this. Just gonna go ahead right now. Do this. Okay. Going to do that. Right. And then goes through here, here. So you have to make sure everybody's interlaced. Okay? If you do 3-color, if you do this color and don't interlace it, and then you do this color, and then you put another color on and you just twist them, you're not going to get the blunt end. You're going to get 3 separate pieces that you have to make sure that you anchor. And you have to make sure that when you bring it off, you are putting a pin through it because it will not stay together at the end. And just for making it look nice, I typically do that on the 3 colors to make sure it doesn't start like doing a weird fold over and everybody kind of looks mangled, for lack of a better terminology on that one. Let's see if I can get this to look decent when I'm doing it on camera, or if it's gonna come out looking all funky. Let's bring it up a little. Let's get this pulled over. Come on, Kelly. Tape it. Get ahead of yourself. In the beginning, I actually did do the way where I was having to run the pin through it, and I made myself so crazy because that's actually the way I learned, was deconstructing somebody else's finishing and then doing it again, redoing it. And that's how that person had done them. And over time, I figured out that if you just interlocked them, you took less of a chance. Okay, and I think I'm gonna do this side next. Did the right. Need another tap. Oh, there it is. Ah, cheese and crust. It's not like it takes a lot to redo. They're tiny. Get that in there a little better. Last one. Hopefully this won't look like a big goober bean at the end of it, because of how I just twisted them, the order in which I twisted them. It can make a difference. Okay, again, I'm gonna try to lay them out as I'm going so they don't do a skip. Where did I put that? Right under my nose. Okay. Slowly. It's closer. Maybe get it to. Right. Twisting it back. Tight, 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 tight. Right. All right. Now, if you're concerned, this is the time to kind of put this in the eye of your. If I put this in a little bit, it'll slide right up over it. And what I did is I put my, I don't know if you can see that. I kind of hid the needle, the pointy end up in the eye of this needle and just slid it right up over the top. Okay. So as I'm working it with my fingers, I can see that it's pretty good. So I'm going to let it go. I'm going to just kind of roll it in my fingers. And that is the side I would have up. Okay. Because this side looks a little funky, but not horrible. Okay. But there definitely is kind of a directional side to use from it. And that is how you do specialty blunt end cording. Good luck, happy finishing.